Well, good morning, you sexy mother hubbards. It's time for an alternative paper review.
It's the alternative paper review.
First up to the Times, Starmer angers left with Labour's green reversal. So the bad news is that sacking off this £28 billion a year green pledge to move us to a green economy, the green revolution, that move, reneging on that has resulted in a bruising suite of headlines for Labour today. I mean, this is just the Times, but take a look at this. Fury as Starmer stages U-turn on £28 billion green investment pledge. Now, that's The Guardian, so understandably, they're very environmentally conscious. This is the FT, though. Starmer U-turn slashes £28 billion yearly green spending promise. Because it's so industrial, because it affects business and their investment in this green revolution, then the FT are jumping in on the act too. While the normally very measured, very sensible and centred Daily Mail say, "Can you ever believe a word Sir U-turn says?" These are the guys who championed Boris Johnson. Can you ever believe a word that Sir Keir says? Right. I mean, Labour are basically damned if they do, damned if they don't with stuff like this, aren't they? If they had continued with £28 billion a year, all the right-wing rags would have been like, oh, well, where's the money coming from? There's no such thing as a magic money. Same old Labour spending money that we don't have. And then Reeves and Starmer are like, actually, I don't know if we've really got the money to spend on this. So they revise their plans, and then the same right-wing rags are like, typical Labour. The other thing you have to remember with these clowns is that when they criticise Starmer in the Express, the Mail, the Telegraph for backing out of this green stuff, it's a bit like so are you disappointed that we're not spending £28 billion on a green initiative? You sound disappointed. Would you like us to spend it then? They're like, I can't believe you're not going through with this. I was really looking forward to this big green revolution. So it is all performative, hot air and pretense, isn't it? Let's move on. Over to the Telegraph now. Biden can't remember when he was vice president. This is in relation to withheld documents. You remember Trump got in trouble for that, for keeping hold of sensitive documentation in Mar-a-Lago, refusing to hand it over, allegedly moving documents around Mar-a-Lago so that when he got raided, or if he got raided, people wouldn't be able to find them. Do you remember all of that? Well, Biden got into trouble in a similar capacity. He kept hold of some documents that he wasn't supposed to. Republicans tried to go tit for tat and get him sort of prosecuted or impeached or something. Well, it's all fallen to pieces now because the prosecutor in that case is like, look, we could try to convict him, but no one's going to convict him because he's an old guy and he's lost his memory. So it's fallen to pieces, which is good for Biden, but terrifying for everyone else. Anyway, there was a slew of, I don't want to call them allegations, but sort of suggestions in this prosecutor's notes where he was saying, look, we've interviewed him. He can't really recall when his own son passed away. That was in 2015. He doesn't really have much recollection of when he was VP. He's 80, he's doddery. Like, when he did retain documents, it's far more likely that he absent-mindedly did so. There's no malice. There was no sort of espionage or sneakiness to it. Anyway, this has achieved two things for Biden. The first is that it's sort of got him off the hook, right? But the second is it's shone a light on this cognitive ability angle. Like, is he too old to be president? It's a bit like a lot of the time I talk about short-termism in UK politics, right? How the Tories will do whatever is necessary to get them off the hook or to get them gushing coverage in the following day's papers. Whatever digs them out of that day or that week's hole is what they will do, with no consideration to how it will come back to kick them in the arse in like 4 weeks or 6 months. This is a good example of short-termism on the left or centre-left of American politics, because by appearing to be absent-minded and a bit doddery in this interview process, this has got him off the hook of the sort of stolen documents case, right? So yay for Biden. The only problem is it's going to come back around to kick him in the arse, because Republicans are already saying, well, hang on a second, you can't have it both ways. Either he's too old and doddery to be trusted, or he's not. Anyway, to try to put out that fire, the Democrats announced an emergency press conference where Biden came out swinging. He was like, my memory is fine, okay? I can remember everything. I remember my son, of course I do. And to be fair to him, he was pretty good in the press conference. There was a couple of times where he came out with like zingers. Like somebody had asked him a question, he'd clap back to them. And you'd be like, whoa, touche, go on, Joey. But then he sort of ruined it towards the end when he did his thing. He's done this about 2 or 3 times now. Like, are you guys familiar with the concept of dead naming? Right, where you refer to a trans person by their old name, their former identity, as it were. Well, Biden dead names world leaders. He refers to, like, the Egyptian president or prime minister as whoever was in power like 25 years ago who has since died. Like, he literally dead names people. He's done it with Egypt, he's done it with France. Like, Joe Biden is like the geopolitical equivalent of your great-grandfather at the barbecue who thinks his great-grandniece is his dead first wife, you know? Goes and cuddles her, gets a bit too handsy. Somebody rushes over, like, no, Dad, no, this is not Barbara. It's not. This is Taylor, your grandniece. You gotta stop.